Somebody said something good about you this week, and you got rid of it within 4 seconds. You know the move. Somebody tells you that you handled something well, or that you look better than you have in a while, or that they were thinking about something you said. And before they have finished the sentence, you are already working. Oh, it was nothing. Anyone would have. That's mostly the lighting. Well, you know how it is. And then, almost always, you hand it back. You say something good about them, quickly, because the fastest way to end this is to change who is holding it. 14 seconds later, the whole exchange is gone, and neither of you would be able to reconstruct it. Now, here is the question I want you sitting with. In the last 5 years, how many things has somebody said about you that you can still quote exactly? You can probably name 1, maybe 2, and they are old, and they are something a specific person said in a specific room a long time ago. Now ask the same question about criticism. You will find you have those filed, verbatim, with the date and the tone of voice. That is not modesty. Modesty would be an even record, held quietly. This is a filing system that accepts one kind of document and rejects the other. You did not design it, and it has been running your self-assessment for 30 years. If that just moved something you cannot name, stay. What follows was built for people like you. What you are about to hear is not clinical advice, but an immersion into the analytical psychology of Carl Jung. We will speak of the psyche from structure, not from the consulting room. And I warn you, if you came here to be told to work on your self-esteem, turn it off now. This is going to hurt before it liberates. Let me tell you what that flinch actually is. Everybody who has heard of Jung has heard of the shadow, and almost everybody has it half wrong. Ask most people, and they will tell you the shadow is the dark part. The cruelty, the envy, the appetite, the things you would not want printed. That is half of it, and Jung was explicit that it is only half. The shadow is not the bad. The shadow is the disowned. It contains everything about yourself that you could not fight into the picture you were allowed to hold. And the deciding factor was never whether the quality was good. It was whether it was safe, which means the shadow contains gold. Jung said this directly, and it is the least repeated thing he ever wrote about it. There is undeveloped positive potential down there. Capacities, strengths, forms of intelligence, whole talents, not because you are secretly wonderful, because at some point having those things visibly was more dangerous than not having them. And the psyche does not weigh good against bad. It weighs safe against unsafe. Now hold that against what happens when somebody compliments you. They are not giving you something new. They are describing something they have observed. Something that was already there, that they can see, and that you cannot. They are handing you back your own property. I call what happens next the refused parcel. A parcel arrives at your door. It has your name on it, correctly spelled. And you look at it and you say, with total sincerity, that there has been a mistake, and you push it back across the threshold. You are not being modest. You genuinely do not recognize the contents as yours. The thing being described is in the shadow, and by definition, you cannot see what is in there. The flinch is not humility, and it is not low confidence. It is a system correctly reporting that an item has arrived for which there is no owner on file. Now, where did the file get closed? Jung would not have started with the compliment. He would have asked when a good quality first became dangerous to hold. So think about the house you grew up in and be precise, because this is not the obvious thing. For most people in this position, achievement was not the problem. Achievement was fine. Often it was demanded. What was not permitted was being pleased about it. You could come home with the result. You could not come home visibly satisfied with the result. And the correction, when it came, was almost never about the work. Don't get big-headed. Who does she think she is? Careful, you're getting very sure of yourself. Somebody in that house had a particular way of saying the word proud. Look at the shape of that. You were allowed to do the thing. You were not allowed to own the thing. And a child cannot separate those, so the whole package gets filed in the one place where it cannot cause trouble. The doing stayed conscious. The owning went into the shadow. That is why this pattern shows up so reliably in people who have actually achieved a great deal. It is not an affliction of the unaccomplished. Your competence was never in question in that house. Your entitlement to it was. And there is a second version that stacks on top. and you will know within 2 seconds whether it is yours. In some houses, praise was a preamble. You did really well. Now, and then the correction arrived, every single time. Praise was the opening of a sentence whose second half was criticism, and it never once appeared on its own. If that was your house, you did not learn that praise is undeserved. You learned that praise is the sound something makes just before it turns. And the flinch is not embarrassment at all. It is bracing, which is why some people find compliments genuinely unpleasant, rather than merely awkward. They are not receiving a gift. They are hearing the first half of something. Now I want to walk you through what this costs. Jung's interest was never the symptom. It was the accounting. There are 3 consequences, and they get worse in order. The first I call the deflection tax. You think the deflection is free because it is polite. It is not free, and the person paying is not you. Somebody offered you something. It took a small act of courage, because saying a warm thing out loud always does, and you handed it straight back in under 4 seconds with a smile. They will not tell you how that felt. It is far too small to mention. But something registers, and it registers as a door. Imagine bringing a present to the same house 4 or 5 times and having it returned unopened every visit, gently, with thanks. You would stop bringing presents, not out of resentment. You would simply conclude that this is not a house where that happens. You would adjust, and you would never once mention it. That is what has been happening around you, slowly, for years. And here is the part that stings. It means the people closest to you have quietly learned not to tell you things. Not the bad things, the good ones. There is a version of you they see clearly and have seen for years. They have stopped describing it out loud, saying it produces a small awkwardness every time. So you are surrounded by information about yourself that nobody is delivering anymore. And you have concluded from the silence that there is nothing to deliver. And there is a second, quieter version of the tax that costs you more than the first. Because you cannot receive it, you never ask. You have never once said to anybody, "What do you think I am actually good at?" Consider how strange that is. You have a panel of people who have watched you work for years. They like you. They would answer honestly, and they are standing right there. And you have never opened the question, because opening it means holding the answer. So the single richest source of information about yourself has been sitting unused for your entire adult life, not withheld, unrequested. The second consequence is stranger, and it explains something about your life you have never connected to this. I call it the outsourced gold. Here is how projection works, in the plainest terms I can give you. A quality that belongs to you and cannot be held by you does not vanish. It gets put somewhere, and the psyche places it on the nearest available person who displays it. So think about who you admire, not casually. Think about the 1 or 2 people whose regard matters disproportionately to you. The person whose approval lands harder than anybody else's. The one whose opinion of your work you would take over 10 other opinions. Now name the specific quality you admire in them. Whatever that word is, you have just named something of your own. That is not flattery, and it is not a trick. It is the mechanism. The intensity is the tell. Ordinary appreciation of a colleague does not produce a charge. When your admiration is out of proportion, something else is going on. When a person's good opinion has power over you that their place in your life does not justify, you are looking at your own material, held by somebody else. You handed them your keys, and now you have to knock to get into your own house. And there is a way to check this that takes about 10 seconds and is slightly unpleasant. Think of that person and imagine them saying the specific good thing about you, not a general compliment. The exact quality you admire in them, said back to you by them. Notice what your body does. If it produces something stronger than a normal pleased reaction, a real jolt, or an immediate refusal, or a want so sharp it embarrasses you, that is the confirmation. Ordinary praise does not do that. Only your own returned property does. And you have built things around this. You will have stayed somewhere for the proximity. You will have shaped work to be seen by one particular person. And it never occurred to you that the thing you were going to them for is in your own name. And if what I am telling you is touching something deep in you, if you feel that finally someone is putting words to a thing you have carried for years without understanding, subscribe now. Not for me, for yourself, because what comes next is the one that matters, and you should not have to go looking for it later. Let us continue. And here comes the third one. I need you to receive this one with your guard all the way down, because it is the one that has been making your decisions. I call it the calibration failure. Go back to the two lists at the start of this. The criticism you can quote verbatim, the praise you cannot recall at all. Now, think about what those two lists are actually for. You are running a model of yourself. Everybody is. You consult it silently and instantly. Whenever a question arrives about what you are capable of, should I apply? Should I offer? Should I say the thing? Is this within range? That model is built from data, and your intake system accepts negative data at full weight and discards positive data within 4 seconds. You have a thermometer that only records the cold days. It is not broken. It works perfectly. Every reading it has ever taken is accurate, and the average it produces is wrong by an enormous margin. There is no way to detect that from inside the instrument, because every individual reading checks out. That is why reassurance does not work on you. People have told you. It did not change the model, because the model is not short of one compliment. It is short of 30 years of them. Now think about what has been decided on this. Not feelings, decisions. The role you did not apply for, because you did a quick, honest assessment and concluded you were not there yet. The thing you did not offer to lead. The person you did not approach. The rate you did not ask for. Every one of those felt like realism. And realism is exactly what it feels like from inside a miscalibrated instrument. That is the cost, not the awkward moment at the party. A 30-year sequence of reasonable feeling decisions made on a biased sample. And it produces the specific experience so many capable people describe and cannot explain. You look at your own record, the actual evidence, the things you have done, and you still privately suspect you are getting away with something. Of course you do. The record is external, the model is internal, and they have never once been reconciled. The reconciliation mechanism is what got closed in that house. And notice what has never once happened. You have never revised the model upward on your own, downward, constantly. One bad meeting and the estimate drops the same evening, permanently. But there is no mechanism running in the other direction. No evening where you sat down and quietly raised your own assessment because the evidence had accumulated. A model that can only move one way is not an assessment. It is a slope. And you have been standing on it for 3 decades, adjusting for the gradient and calling the adjustment realism. That is the real bill, not the awkwardness, the slope. Now, what follows is not what you expect, and I want to be clear about that in advance. Jung is not going to tell you to say thank you and stop talking. He is not going to tell you to work on your self-esteem. He is not going to send you to a mirror to list your good qualities, or write affirmations, or fake confidence until it becomes real. Every one of those tries to add something to the picture from outside, and nothing needs adding. It is already yours. It is in a room you have not visited. What he described was the withdrawal of projections, and it is one of the most concrete things in his entire body of work. Here is the image, and it will carry the rest. Think of a lost property office. There is a room, somewhere in every large station, full of shelves. On those shelves is a very great deal of property, and every item on them belongs to somebody. Nothing in there is unowned. It is all just unclaimed, and people walk past that counter for years. Now here is the detail that matters, because it is the whole method. To retrieve something from lost property, you cannot simply say that you have lost something. That gets you nowhere. You have to describe the item. Size, what was inside it, where you last had it. Naming it precisely is the entire claim process. That is exactly what Jung asks for, and it is why generic self-esteem work fails at this. Telling yourself you are a good person is arriving at the counter and saying you have lost something. It does not produce the item. So here is the practice, and it comes in 2 halves, and the second one is the one that works. The first half I call the 2-second hold. Next time somebody says a good thing about you, you do exactly one thing differently. You do not deflect. You do not return the compliment. You do not explain the circumstances. You say thank you, and then you stop talking, and you let 2 seconds pass. That is all. 2 seconds of silence. It will be genuinely uncomfortable, and you should expect that. The discomfort is the parcel sitting on the doorstep instead of being pushed back. You are not trying to feel good about it. You are only refusing to dispose of it on schedule. The second half is the one that changes the model, and you have to write it down. Every time it happens, that evening. One line on paper. Who said it? And the exact words. Not your feelings about it. Not whether you agree. The quote. Because remember what the actual defect is. It is not that you lack confidence. It is that the positive data is not being stored. So you are building an archive by hand deliberately of the material your system discards automatically. And once a month, read the page. That is where it happens. Not in the moment. The moment is too fast and you are too involved. It happens on the page. A month later, in somebody else's words, in a list. That is where you see one item described often enough by different people that the description stops sounding like a mistake. 2 rules about the page, because both of them matter more than they sound. Do not editorialize. The temptation will be enormous to add a note explaining the context, or why they might have said it, or that they were in a good mood. Every one of those notes is the disposal mechanism arriving in writing. Quote and stop, and do not read it back the same week. The whole point is distance. Read too soon, and you are still close enough to the exchange to remember all your reasons for dismissing it, and you will dismiss it again, on paper this time, which is worse. Once a month, cold, as though it were about somebody else. I will not lie to you about the first weeks. You will write down 4 compliments, and reading them back will make you wince, and you will suspect that everybody involved was being kind. Write them anyway. You are not required to believe the archive. You are only required to keep it. And add one more line whenever it occurs to you. The name of somebody you admire out of proportion and the specific quality. That is the same office, a different shelf. There is one more shelf worth visiting, and it is the fastest of the 3. Think about what irritates you disproportionately in other people. Not ordinary annoyance. The specific quality that makes you tighten when you see it. Somebody being loud about their own work. Somebody taking up space. Somebody accepting praise easily and enjoying it. That reaction is the same instrument again, pointed the other way. You are not irritated because they are wrong. You are irritated because they are doing the thing you were forbidden to do, and they are getting away with it. Some part of you have filed that as unfair a very long time ago. Write those down too. 1 line. The person and what they did that you would never do. That list is a description of your own locked room, drawn from the outside. It is often more accurate than the compliments. Because you resist it harder, and the resistance is the tell. Now here is the reversal, and it is worth carrying out of here. That flinch is not a defect, and it is not weakness. Consider what it actually does. It detects an incoming description, checks it against your file, finds no matching owner, and disposes of it inside 4 seconds. That is a fast, accurate, well-built verification system. It is not malfunctioning. It is running correctly on an incomplete register. And the same instrument has been doing something else useful the whole time, which nobody ever tells you. Your disproportionate admiration is not a weakness either. It is an inventory. Every person you have ever admired too much has been holding up a description of something of yours. If you had known how to read it, you would have had a list of your own undeveloped capacities decades ago. Drawn up entirely by other people, the flinch and the admiration are the same system. One shows you what you cannot hold. The other shows you where you put it. The compliment was not flattery. The compliment was not politeness, and it was not somebody being kind to you because they wanted something. The compliment was a description of an item in your name, delivered by somebody with a clearer view of it than you have, and you have been refusing delivery since you were 9. And I want to be careful here, because there is a trap at exactly this point, and it is the worst one in this whole series. This does not make you humble. Watch out for that, because you have been rewarded for this behavior your entire adult life, and you will want to keep the reward. Refusing your own gold is not humility. Humility is having an accurate account of what you have and not needing to display it. You cannot be humble about something you do not know you own. What you have been practicing is not modesty. It is an inability to receive, and the two have been mistaken for each other so long that yours has been getting compliments of its own. It does not make you gracious. It makes you responsible for the archive. 1 page, other people's words written down, read once a month. Because that is what this is, and it is narrower and better than the version you were sold. It is not learning to feel good about yourself. You may never enjoy being praised, and that is genuinely fine. It is getting your file back to the point where it holds both kinds of document. so that the next time you assess yourself, you are working from the whole record. If this reached you, subscribe, not for me, because the next ones go further into this than I can go in one sitting. And leave a comment with one thing. The best thing anybody has ever said about you that you can still quote exactly. Just the quote. Not who, not why, not whether you believed it. I want to see how many people can only manage something from 20 years ago, because I suspect that is most of you. I read them all. And if there is someone you know who cannot take a compliment and has been praised for it, send them this. That is probably the only reframe they were waiting for. Somebody said something good about you this week, and you got rid of it within 4 seconds. It had your name on it. It was correctly addressed. And the only thing required to keep it was 2 seconds of not talking. Keep the parcel.